Welcome to this webinar, How to Apply for a Master's Program. To prevent any confusion, we want to make sure that it's all clear to you that this is about how to apply for a Master's Program at Utrecht University with a non-Dutch diploma. So if you hold a Dutch diploma, procedures are different. And if you want to apply to another Dutch university, note that there's no central admission in the Netherlands, so procedures might be different for other Dutch universities as well. We're gonna talk you through this webinar in the coming hour, and we hope you will enjoy it. Well, first of all, we will introduce ourselves. My name is Dennis. I work for International Student Admissions, so I deal with master applications, with bachelor applications, and with scholarship applications.
Yeah, and my name is Elena. I'm a research master student in Utrecht University, and I'm come from Russia, and it's my first year doing my master's here.
Yes, and if you have any problems with your with the connection or with the chat function or anything like that, yeah, if you can chat, I see a lot of you can do that. Please let us know what the problem you're encountering, and my colleagues will try to help you with that, because it's not only us today. There's also several people on chat. These are the 5 people that are on the chat now. That's Daphna, Aino, Arlinda, Marika, and Hans, and they will answer all the questions you have. And they will try to answer you as soon as they can. But there might be quite a lot of questions, so please have a little patience. And of course, we will also try to address as much as we can in the webinar itself. What will we be covering? We will start with some UU facts and figures. Then we will start with the application process. There's 2 main parts in the application process: StudyLink and OSIRIS. We will get to that later on. We will talk about the documents you should be preparing. We will talk about the decision that can be a rejection or hopefully a conditional or unconditional admission, and the steps to take from there. And we will end with a Q&A session. If there's anything that has not been discussed, you can ask it there. Well, let's start with some UU facts and figures. This is the Dom Tower, which is now being renovated, but it's one of the most iconic images of the city. Utrecht is a city in the heart of the Netherlands, as you can see on this picture. It's only half an hour by train to Amsterdam. You can also easily reach London, Cologne. Yeah, there's a great transportation network from here, and yeah, the Netherlands is not that big, so you can easily reach a lot of different cities and places from here. The university itself was founded in 1636. We are currently, if we look at the Shanghai ranking, we're ranked number 1 in the Netherlands, 49 in the world, and we have 12 Nobel Prize winners here. So yeah, we can easily say that we are doing quite okay. At the moment, we have 12 international bachelor programs taught in English and over 90 English taught masters. Your master is one of those programs that is taught in English. There's a lot of student societies. There's a great student life that also has to do with the fact that there's 2 more higher education institutions in Utrecht, the Utrecht School of the Arts and Utrecht University of Applied Sciences. So out of the 340,000 inhabitants the city has, there's about 60,000 students. So yeah, you can imagine that student life is quite good here, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's start with the fun stuff now. We're going to talk about the application process that starts in StudyLink and ends in OSIRIS. And I will show you how that works. The application process. The application process is, well, pretty straightforward, I guess, but we'll talk you through the steps. First of all, it should, of course, yeah, you should, of course, pick a program and check the website for the entry requirements of this specific program. You can find the deadlines, you can find the documents you will need for this particular master's program. Then the first step is to apply via StudyLink. We'll talk about it later. You will then be asked to upload your documents in Osiris online application, which is our own online application system. You will have to pay the application fee, and then you will have to submit your application. The admissions office will then check your previous education, and we will forward it to the admissions committee of the graduate school. They will then further process your application and see if there's a match with the program you want to apply for. There might be an interview. That's not the case for all programs, but some programs do actually interview the students through Skype or telephone. Then, if you are accepted, it will, most of the times it will be a conditional acceptance, because you will still have to send in certified hard copies of your educational documents. And then once you have done that, and you have also passed the English language test, you will be unconditionally accepted, and you will then be able to enroll at Utrecht University. Before you apply, there are a few things you might want to take into account. If you go to our website, uu.nl/masters, you will find all the master programs we offer. All the programs have a similar navigation structure when it comes to the website. And under admission and application, you will find the entry requirements, you will find the deadlines, you will find the documents you will need to submit for that specific program. So it's pretty much all on that website. Yeah, and maybe there's also something you would like to add on this?
Yeah, I wanted to add that if you are going to apply for a scholarship, especially those scholarships that Utrecht University offers, make sure to check the deadlines for the scholarship, because usually they are way earlier than the deadlines for your application to the university. For example, the Utrecht Excellence Scholarship, the deadline is on February the 1st. So make sure you make all your application documents and submit them before the scholarship deadline, because the scholarship application goes after you submitted your application to the program.
Indeed, yeah. That's completely correct. So although the main deadline for non-EU students is April 1st, if you go for that deadline, you will already have missed most, if not all, scholarship deadlines. So that's something to take into account. Most programs have rolling admission, so you can apply early. Applications are actually already open for September 2020. Well, once you have found a program you would like to apply for, it all starts in StudyLink. StudyLink is the national online application platform for Dutch higher education. It's a website run by the Ministry of Education. So to each higher education institution in the Netherlands, you will have to go through StudyLink. There's basically two options when you start this application. If you are already living and registered in the Netherlands, you'll have to use your DigiD, which is some kind of digital ID which you use to communicate with the Dutch government. But most of you will probably still be living abroad, and then you will have to create an account with a username and a password, and then you can apply like that. We will briefly show you how StudyLink looks. You will first have to create your StudyLink account, make sure that your personal details match with your ID or your passport. So if you have two last names, please include them both. If you have more than one first name, please include them all. And of course, make sure that all the details are correct. Then you will see another screen in which you will be asked to fill out some more details, where you were born and stuff like that. It's pretty self-explanatory. Once you create your account, you will also have to fill out your address details. Although most correspondence will be through email, we might also need your postal address, so make sure that your postal address is registered correctly there. And then please check everything once more. You will have to invent a password. Please make sure that you remember the password, because you're going to need it later on. And then once you are sure that everything is fully filled out and correct, you can check in the summary that indeed everything is correct, and then create your account. Once your Osiris account is created, you will receive an email, so make sure to check your spam folder as well. Hopefully it will end up in your regular inbox, and you will have to activate your StudyLink account. And once you have done so, you can go back to StudyLink, log in with the account you just created, and then you can submit an actual enrollment application. You will have to select Utrecht University if you're going to apply to a program at Utrecht University. And then you'll have to select a specific starting date and a specific program. And then, yeah, you will be asked to fill out your previous education as well. There's no need to upload documents here. You will just have to fill out your previous education. And that's where you got a little bit confused, right?
So, yeah, so I was in your situation a year ago. I was also filling in these forms, and I somehow got confused. So the important thing is that you only need your higher education diplomas, or well, like titles that you need to upload to StudyLink. Do not bother with your secondary education. This is not needed. So all your bachelor degrees, maybe if you already did some masters, other masters, and probably you are all, well, I guess everybody who is watching us doesn't have a Dutch diploma. So make sure you enter your degree manually. Like this is probably the case for you, because if you are not in that HBO, HWV levels that the program will ask you, and if you're not, you will have to fill in your education manually.
Indeed, because if you did your previous education in the Netherlands, and we're not talking about that process right now, then your previous education is generally already automatically filled out in StudyLink because it's logged somewhere in a database in the Netherlands. But you will indeed add it manually and then continue from there. You can apply up to 4 programs per person per academic year, but that's for the entire Netherlands. So you can apply for 4 masters in Utrecht, but you can also apply for 2 masters in Utrecht and 2 in Amsterdam, for example. And if you want to apply for more, you will have to withdraw one of the other applications. Or if one application is rejected, you can submit a new one as long as you take the deadlines into account. And once you are submitting your actual enrollment application, you will have to make sure that you select the correct starting date, the correct academic year. Most of our masters start in September only. There's a few programs starting in February, but for February 2020, all deadlines have already passed. So I guess most of you are aiming for September 2020 now. There are several questions you have to go through. It's all pretty straightforward, I guess, but we'll just show you the screen so that you know what to expect. And then you will have one final check. Are you sure you want to submit this application? And then you check if all the details you filled out are correct. And once you're sure that they're all correct, you can submit your enrollment application. And that's the last step in StudyLink. And then the next step starts, because what StudyLink will do is StudyLink will forward your enrollment application or applications, if you apply for more than one program, to Utrecht University, and your application will end up in our own online application tool, which is Osiris Online Application. And yeah, that also happened to you, right? That you got to this point after StudyLink.
So quickly to recap what happens, you apply through StudyLink, you get a message from StudyLink that your application is complete. You get a separate message which states your student number that you're going to have for the rest of your life in Utrecht University. And then you get a letter from admissions office which tells you the login details and password details with which you can now log into Osiris and follow the next application steps that we're going to talk about right now.
Indeed, yeah, that's completely correct. So StudyLink is also the platform where you always start your application, but also where you change your details during the application process. So for example, should you change your email address, you should change it in StudyLink, and StudyLink will make sure it's automatically changed in all the university databases from all universities you're applying to. But now specifically for Utrecht University, the application will continue in Osiris Online Application. And this is a general overview of the documents you will be submitting. We're going to need your passport, or if you're an EU citizen, you can also use your ID card. We are going to need a copy of your diploma and a copy of your transcript. Transcript is a list of grades with all the courses you completed and grades and credits you obtained. These documents can be in English, Dutch, French, German, or Spanish. If that's the case, no translations are needed. If your documents are in another language, like Russian, for example, we will also need sworn translations of the documents in original language. And of course, if your university, if your university is, let's say, for example, in Russia, but can issue a transcript directly in English, that's also fine, of course. We're going to need your resume, your CV, a motivation letter, a recommendation letter, generally two, written by professors who can comment on your performance as a student. Chinese students from mainland China, we're going to talk about that later on, are going to need to apply for a NAFIC certificate, and we will need to see your English language test results, and we will also cover that later on. For the resume and the motivation letter, you also had, we use standard formats, which were really convenient for you, right?
Yeah, so if there is a template at the Utrecht University website, make sure you use that template, because usually inside you have instructions. For example, in the motivation letter template, it literally says what you have to do. You have to mention this and that. Of course, you can be creative, and it's very appreciated if you are creative and you have more chances, but make sure to cover everything that they want you to cover in the instructions.
Yeah, indeed, that's correct. And it's also good to know at this point of the application process that there are several things you do not have to have yet. For example, the English language test results. You can indicate in Osiris Online application when you plan to take the test and which test you plan to take, and then you can send us the results later on. The official deadline for non-EU students to submit English test results will be June 1st, and the deadline for EU students will be September 1st. So you can already apply even if your English test date is in the future. It's also no problem if you do not have your diploma yet, if you're still in your final year of your bachelor's, or master's if you're applying based on the master's. We will show you later on what we will need from you in that case. You do not have to have your NAFIC certificate already if you're a Chinese student from mainland China, but you must at least have applied for it. So we can check if you applied for that NAFIC certificate. If it's not issued yet, it's no problem, but you must at least have applied for it already.
And yeah,
you had
I had a comment
Indeed.
about IELTS, which is one of the tests that you guys probably want to take or already have taken. So even though it is officially valid for 2 years, for Utrecht University, it is not the case. So if you took your test a little bit more than 2 years ago, there is no problem. You do not have to retake it, because the university assumes that if you were able to speak English 2 years ago, you probably still know how to speak English. But this is not the case for Chinese students. Some special things apply to Chinese students. So this is the case for everybody else.
Yeah, indeed, that has to do with a NAFIC certificate. In order to get that certificate, your IELTS or TOEFL cannot be older than 2 years. So that's basically the exception. We can continue with the next step, because we just talked about that. Imagine you're still in your last year of your bachelor's and you still want to apply already. You definitely can. We are going to need a proof of anticipated degree form. There's a standard format on our website, which you can download, print, and ask your university to fill out. They will have to stamp and sign it, and then you can scan it again and upload it. Or if they can fill it out digitally, that's for the application process. That's also fine. But do make sure that it's signed and stamped. It has to contain, for example, your official name, the name of the university, the degree you're working towards, preferably the subjects you are taking in the final year, the subjects that are not on your transcript yet, and your expected graduation date, because we must be sure that you are in the final phase of your bachelor's and that it's likely that you will graduate before the actual program starts. If your university does not want to fill out our form, but they can issue a similar document with more or less the same information, that's also fine. For non-EU students, you might have to send this document to us by post, but we will talk about that a little bit later. We already mentioned the NOFIC application for Chinese applicants. It's only required for students from mainland China, so not for students from Hong Kong, Macau, or Taiwan. You have to register with the NOFIC. There's a link both on our website and in the presentation that you'll need to follow and apply for the NOFIC certificate, where your previous education and your language skills will be verified. Once you have done so, there's a question in our Cyrus Online application asking you to indicate if you have already applied for this certificate, and you'll have to check that box, and then you can continue with your application. We already talked about this as well a little bit. You can, in fact, submit these results later as well, but if you already have them, of course, please upload them. You can find the exact scores we accept on the program websites, but in general, we accept the IELTS, the TOEFL, the internet-based TOEFL, and the Cambridge Advanced and the Cambridge Proficiency exams. You will have to upload a digital scan of your official report. For example, with TOEFL, you can also download a document from their own website for your own use, which is not considered to be an official document. So please always make sure to order the official document, that it will be sent to us. And you can do so using our ETS code 9062. That's a special code for your TOEFL to be sent to Utrecht University. Once again, the deadlines for meeting the English test requirement is June 1st for non-EU students. That has to do with your visa application, and September 1st for EU students. Of course, there's also some exceptions on the website for students who do not have to take an English language test. For example, if you did your degree in the USA or in the UK or in Canada and so on. You will find the exemptions that are listed on our website. Yes, we already discussed this a little bit. Once you submit your StudyLink application, you will receive an email from us with your login details for Osiris. You will have to click on the link, and then you go to Osiris, where you can log in with the details you were given. You will have to change your password and make sure, again, that you remember it. And then you can start uploading documents. That's also something you had to do last year, right? So you got to this point as well, of course.
Yeah, also do not worry. You do not have to submit all your documents and fill in the form at once. So you can log in, maybe attach one document, wait for another one. I don't know, check your form again the next day. So you can always save up changes at different stages, and you can submit it later on.
Definitely.
The form in Osiris.
Yeah. Please do make sure to save it before leaving the application platform, because otherwise you do have to start all over again. But indeed, saving it will save you time the next time, of course. So once you log in, you will see the applications you have, applications you have submitted. You can see the progress of your application here. So, for example, you can see if the admissions office is currently checking your file for completeness, or if it's the admissions committee that is looking at it. So there's a way to track your application. On this page, you can also click on view and edit your application. And if you click on that, it will take you to this page. This is the page where you'll have to upload your documents. You'll have to upload your required documents in PDF. There's a maximum of 2 MB per upload. So you'll have to resize your documents, or if it's simply too big, the file, you can split the file into several documents. That's no problem, because you can upload several documents under the same field. So for example, if your transcript is 5 pages, you can in fact upload 5 different PDFs under transcript. We discussed that already. You can save the application and submit it later on. And in some cases, we see that more and more universities offer the option for us to verify your credential digitally, so that your university has a database in which we can log into with a code and stuff like that. So to check your transcript and diploma, on our website, you will find clear instructions on how to do that. Which countries we already accept, and how that verification process goes. But for the application itself, for the initial application, we are definitely going to need your application documents in this tool in PDF. Once you have uploaded your documents, you will be asked to pay the application fee. There's a few exceptions, but most of you will be asked to pay the application fee. The exceptions are mentioned in both Osiris and on the website. And then from here, you can click on a link and go to a payments module where you can pay the 100 euro application fee. You only pay application fee once. So even if you're applying for 4 programs, you only pay for 4 programs in Utrecht, I must say, you only pay once. And or if you already paid last year and are applying again this year, there's no need to pay again. So please read the instructions carefully and make sure to pay the application fee, for example, by credit card. And once you have paid this application fee, you can continue your Osiris process. You will be asked to check everything once again to make sure that all the details are correct. You will be asked if you want to be put on a mailing list, for example, for nice events that might take place in your country or other promotional activities that might interest you. And once you have done so, you can continue, make sure to check everything once more. And once you've done so, you can, I'm going too fast, but then you can submit your application. And once your application is submitted, it's going to be checked, like we said, by the admissions office for completeness. Then it's being forwarded to the selection committee. And then, the waiting starts. And that's also what you had to do, right? You submit your application. It was complete, and then you wait.
Yeah, also make sure that you have some time before the deadline and after you have submitted your application, because if something is missing or a little bit incorrect, the admissions office will check your Osiris application and tell you if you can change something before they send it to the graduate school you're applying to. And then it probably takes it usually takes 2 weeks, a little bit more during the Christmas period. So I applied on the Christmas period and I got my response in 3 weeks, which is also very fast. And yeah, that's conditional admission if you are lacking diploma yet or English test.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, it could also happen that the decision is a letter of rejection. But yeah, we'll hope that that's not always the case. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And like Elena said, that's definitely true. It's not the case that we will reject your application right away if something is missing or incomplete. Yeah. You will always be given the time to complete your application, unless you apply on the very last day of the deadline, because then there might not be time to complete your application anymore. So that's also why it is important not to wait till the very last moment. You will receive the official outcome once a decision has been made by email. Indeed, in most cases, it's within 2 to 3 weeks, but some programs with limited spaces available, it might take a little bit longer because they want to compare all applications. You will receive the decision through the graduate school by email. So there's no fancy letter by post, but it's going to be an email, which is quicker and also equally convenient, of course. It can be a rejection. If it's a rejection, it's clearly indicated why you have not been accepted, and that might also help you to improve future applications to other universities or to plan your future academic career. But there's always an explanation for the rejection. And if you are conditionally accepted, it will list the conditions you will have to fulfill. There's all kinds of conditions. Most of the times it's sending in the certified hard copies of your educational documents and passing the English language test, but it might also be something else like attending summer school or doing an additional online course and passing that course. All these conditions are clearly mentioned in your conditional acceptance. Once you have met all these conditions, you will receive the unconditional acceptance letter. And that's the letter you are going to need for official enrollment, because with the conditional acceptance letter, as you can probably imagine, you cannot enroll into the university. The conditional acceptance, will most likely, unless you have digitally verified documents, what we talked about it earlier, well, most students will still have to send in certified hard copies of the diploma and transcript to the international student admissions. You'll have to send them by post. English test results can, for example, also be one of the documents you will still have to send. The deadlines, once again, June 1st for non-EU and September 1st for EU students. But yeah, that might be tricky for students who are still in their final year of the bachelor's. So
yeah, a lot of non-European universities finish their studies later than the 1st of June, so you will not be able to have your diploma before that time. So do not worry, it will be stated in your conditional letter. In that case, you just have to make sure to send another anticipated degree form before the 1st of June. And then as soon as you get your diploma, probably in the end of June, I don't know, in the middle of July, you make this certified copy of your diploma and you have to send it to the university by mail. And also I wanted to give a economic tip. So if your post works well in your country, you can just send these copies by post, because post in the Netherlands works very well. So you don't have to order some crazy expensive delivery. Just make sure to have your documents stamped, and well, this is the scan of your document, so if it gets lost on the way, you can just go to the uni, make another scan of your document with a stamp and a signature and send it again. But usually it will be fine. In a week you will have your unconditional letter.
Yeah, indeed, because in order to be able to apply for your visa, we are going to need at least your certified proof of anticipated degree form and your transcript by June 1st. And then indeed you can submit the actual diploma later on. But indeed, that's all explained in your conditional letter. But yeah, don't panic if you see a June 1st deadline and you graduate later, because there's a way around that. And what are certified copies? Yeah, we already talked about it a little bit. Never send your original documents, because yeah, they might get lost along the way. You can go to your university with your original diploma and transcript, and they can then make certified copies of these documents, which basically means they copy the originals and sign and stamp with wet ink these documents, so that we can see the actual stamp and signature. So photocopies of the original documents without certification are not accepted by us. We will need to see the certified copies with original stamp and signature. On our website, you will also find a cool animation which explains exactly what a certified copy is. We are going to need these documents in order to verify the authenticity of your documents. So just printing out the scans you uploaded in Osiris is not going to do the trick. Well, and then once you have received your offer, you will need to confirm or decline your place in the program. Again, this happens in Osiris. You go back to Osiris, and in Osiris you can indicate if you do not know yet if you will take up the offer, if you want to decline it, and then your application will be cancelled right away. Or if you want to accept the offer. For EU students, it depends on the program. Some programs require you to confirm your place, for example, by June 1st, or they might have a later deadline even than June 1st. But for non-EU students who need a visa and or residence permit, you will have to accept your place in the program by May 15. You had to do that as well, right?
Yeah, so to quickly recap what happens after you got your conditional admission. So you get your conditional admission, then you have a lot of time, well, at least until May 15th to confirm your place. And in that time, by the end of March, if you apply for a scholarship from Utrecht University, you will get your scholarship decision. So you don't have to confirm anything if your scholarship is a crucial factor. So when you get your scholarship decision, you can, I don't know, decline or hopefully accept the offer in Osiris. And then as soon as you accepted the offer, the university will communicate to you how you have to proceed with the visa and residence permit procedures. So this is for non-European students. I am a non-European student myself. And I can say it's very clear. You will receive everything by mail. And you will have to make later on another application in Osiris to upload some official documents like your insurance, passport data. And you will also have to pay an invoice for your visa and residence permit. And this one will come separately in the mail. So make sure you really make a transfer yourself through your bank account to pay for your visa. Yeah, but that's all quite clear at that point.
Yeah, indeed. And we only started the visa and residence permit procedure for students who have accepted their place in the program. And then, once your visa application is approved, you will be, if you need a visa, you will be asked to go to the embassy, the nearest embassy, to collect your visa and your passport. If you only need a residence permit, you can enter the Netherlands with just your passport and collect your residence permit later on. We're not going to talk about too much details about this process, but we will definitely guide you through this process. It's something the university will have to assist you with, because you cannot arrange this yourself. After admission, indeed, once you have been conditionally or unconditionally admitted, you will receive more information from Utrecht University about all kinds of practical stuff you will need to take care of. We already talked a little bit about the visa procedure, right? And that's for non-EU students only. You receive information about housing. The housing situation in Utrecht is difficult, but if you start in time, it's definitely not impossible. I mean, you also found a nice place to live, right? Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's like, also I want to, there will be, I think, a separate webinar about
definitely.
housing, but just also do not be overstressed about it. You just have to be lucky. And I know everybody, also the housing webinar is shouting at you, like, you should like start looking for a place right now. But I mean, if you want to move in August, you should not start looking right now. Like, places that appear now in private market are for January. So do not worry. I mean, not now, like a bit later, after you are definitely accepted to the university in summer, something like that. Well, if you're looking in a private market, and of course there will be a lot of options from the university a little bit earlier than that, but the university will communicate about it.
Yeah,
so you will not miss that.
No, we will definitely keep you posted on that. It's just important to realize that it's probably not going to work out to find a room if you arrive 2 days in advance before the program starts and think, okay, I'll find something. No. But we'll help you with that as much as we can. There will be pre-departure meetings, not in every country, but in countries where a lot of our students are living, or where we have a lot of applications from. We will organize events where we will tell you about your move to the Netherlands, what to prepare, what to expect, all kinds of practical information, and you will receive more information about that later on, and then possibly visit one of these meetings. And for all students, once they have arrived, there will be orientation days at the end of August, early September, to get you to get to know the city, to get to know other international students, and it's a really nice way to get to know the city and to get to know other international students.
Yeah, definitely.
You attended it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, also a pre-departure event. I think there was one in Russia. I think there is going to be one in Russia next year, and it's really fun, even though we have not more than 30 people coming from Russia. So if Utrecht University comes to your country, make sure you go to this fun event.
Yeah, it will at least already help you meet other people from the same country, mostly, that will be going to Utrecht as well. So it's a really nice event. And the orientation days, once you're here in Utrecht, they will help you find your way in the city more easily. Some tips and tricks. Start on time. Like we said, applications are already open, so you can already start the application process now. Read the instructions carefully. That's something you really...
well, I already said that, make sure you read all the instructions, because they basically say what Utrecht University wants to hear from you and to get from you. So you follow them very carefully. And also, I wanted to say that do look at the website. Probably you are now in the stage of looking at different universities. Maybe you already are only looking at Utrecht University, but some of the university's websites are very unclear, messy, and look old-fashioned, but this is not the case for Utrecht University. As you probably have noticed already, we have all these nice webinars. So yeah, really go to your program, click on all the links that there are, read about this program. It will also help you when you're writing your motivation letter, that you know everything that's happening on your program. And also, if you feel like you are in a very specific situation, there is nothing mentioned about your situation, or this stuff cannot be mentioned for like about something that you are in. So do not hesitate to contact and email the question desk, because people work there to help you with these questions.
Of course, our email address is there, so you can always email us when you have questions. We would be happy to answer them. Close to deadlines, it might take a little bit longer to answer your questions because, of course, a lot of questions are coming in, but we will always get back to you. You can also always check the progress of your application in Osiris, so you can see in which step of the process you are. And of course, if you want to know more, you are also very welcome to visit Utrecht. Our next Masters Open Day will be February 14, 2020, where you can learn a lot about our master programs and where you can talk to us and where we can answer all your questions. But of course, should you have any questions now, we can, of course, still answer them. We will take a quick look at some of the questions that were submitted through the chat function, and then we will answer them as good as we can. If you have specific questions for either me or for Elena about anything in Utrecht, you can, of course, also do that. So please feel free to ask what you would like to know and what has not been answered in this webinar or by one of my colleagues in the moderator room. So let me see, are there any questions? There is a question from Lisa. She wants to know if you did not apply for, when you're applying and you did not take your English language test yet, if it's a problem for the admissions committee, if it's a disadvantage not to have passed the English test yet. That's a good question, but yeah, we can indeed allow students to submit their English language test results later. And if that is the case, yeah, then of course it's also no problem if you did not take the test yet. If your background matches the program, you will be conditionally admitted, and passing the English language test will be one of the conditions. About the motivation letters and all the other documents, would you prefer to have it in English or in Dutch?
That's from Lucy.
From Lucy, yeah, that's a question from Lucy. It's a good question because indeed, although we do accept documents in Spanish, German, and French as well, we strongly, strongly recommend you, especially your CV and motivation letter, as you are applying to an English taught program, probably not to write them in Spanish or French or German, or even Dutch when you're applying for an English taught program. Yeah. So make sure these documents are in the language of instruction of your program. And
I think for the official ones, it doesn't really matter, such as transcripts.
No, transcripts and diploma can indeed be in French, German, Spanish, English, or Dutch.
But the ones that you actually write, like motivation letter, it's also one of the purposes is to show how good you actually are in English, in academic English. So indeed, it's better to write them in English.
And if your professors, for whatever reason, cannot write reference letters in English, technically we do allow reference letters in Spanish, French, and German as well. But I would advise against it, as reading a transcript in another language is something else than reading something like a reference letter. So please try to make sure these are in English. Mm-hmm. Another question is from Alexandria. She asks if the majority of courses is taught in English, but she says, I found a few countries where masters are taught both in English and the native language of the country. We definitely do have programs that are fully in Dutch, but it's always indicated in each program what the language of instruction is. There are a few programs that are bilingual. They have an English taught track and a Dutch taught track. So if you want to do it in Dutch, you can do it in Dutch, but then you need to be proficient in Dutch. And if you want to do it in English, you can do it in English. But you don't have to worry about a program being advertised as being English taught and all of a sudden come across a few courses in Dutch. That's not going to happen.
I can. Oh wait, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I can take the next one. This is the good one. So Monsi asks, what about housing in Utrecht? Is housing easily available near the campus? So first of all, if you are doing humanities, you are probably going to study in the city center or very close to the city center. And if you are doing sciences, you will probably study in this campus, which is a little bit in a different place. It's easily bikeable to the city center. But so there are quite some places in the campus, in this science park, it is called. You probably know already about it. And you will receive information about it around May, I think, April. So there will be reserved places in campus. There are not so much places. Well, there are actually a lot. It depends on what you can also afford. If your budget is a little bit tight, there are not so much options. And of course, a lot of people will want to get this place as well. So you have to be lucky, and it will be like the registration will open and a lot of people will go to that website at the exactly same second and try to book that same spot that you want to book. So don't also reject looking for places in private housing, because that can help. And just generally do not rely on university. University helps, but you should also help yourself and look for all possible options.
Yeah, indeed, because we do not own our own accommodation. It's all accommodation offered through a housing agency. So we cannot guarantee that there's a room for everyone. But in the end, everyone
finds a place.
Yeah.
Sooner or later.
Yeah.
I was living in Amsterdam myself for a month, and it's easily commutable from Amsterdam also.
Yeah, indeed. And the train network is great. Yeah. So yeah, there's also quite a few students living just outside of Utrecht where it might be a little bit easier to find a place. So don't be scared to look a little bit further than just the city borders of Utrecht. Lisa asks how long the recommendation letters will have to be. Well, there's no strict rule for that, but generally, when it comes to reference letters, 1 to maximum 2 pages would be okay. Of course, the professor should be able to comment on your academic performance. So it should not be just one sentence like this student is great and that's it. But it does not have to be a very extensive essay either. So if you aim for 1 to 2 pages, you will be fine. And on the website, you can also find instructions for the professors. You can give these instructions to your professors when you're asking for a reference letter, and they can take these instructions into account. Amanda asks about detailed course descriptions. There are a few programs that ask for course descriptions. What I know is that she asks if it's a problem that there's no document you can scan and upload, but that it's a link to the website of the university. As far as I know, that's generally also fine, that you upload a document explaining where to find the course descriptions on the website of your university, as long as these documents are available online on the website of your university. It's mainly because the selection committee sometimes wants to know what you actually studied in a specific subject, as a subject name does not always reflect exactly what you studied in that subject.
I did it. I also had to upload it for my program. I did it myself, so that's perfectly fine. I mean, you tell the truth about what you studied, what is the description of the subjects. And yeah, you just include the relevant subjects and make, I don't know, a little paragraph of what you actually did during the subject. So it's okay.
Yeah. And Daria wants to know, if you, being a non-European student, can work part-time alongside your studies. Although technically it's possible, it's not so easy. Apart from the fact that the program you're studying is a full-time program, non-EU students will need a work permit. in addition to the residence permit for study, because the residence permit you will receive for studying here does not allow you to work.
It actually does. It's like if you receive a study permit, it says on the back of your permit that you are allowed to work not more than 3 hours a day, so 16 hours a week, I think, or 15. So this is kind of part-time job that you are allowed to do with your study residence permit. But anyways, if you really want to do that, you will have to get another real Dutch insurance. So the one that you will buy for your visa will be technically not needed. You will just lose your money, but that's possible. But you need to get another insurance.
And it's it's not a pretty straightforward process. So and you can also not use this money, expected income from a future job. You cannot use it for your visa application, for example. Like you have to prove that you have enough finances to cover your expenses here. And you cannot say, yeah, well, I'm going to find a part-time job. You cannot use that income for your visa application. So I think we have answered all the questions now.
Thank you for listening to us. Hope we were useful.
Yeah, and thank you very much. And should you have any questions you can that you think about later, you can always email us. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching us. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.